Now today in this video, I will compare the iPhone 17 Pro with a real mirrorless camera. And why would I do that? Because the iPhone 17 Pro is around 1800 euros here in Germany. That's even more than the rent I pay. Really, it's a lot of money for a phone. With this price tag, we are not just talking about a really good phone camera anymore. We are in proper mirrorless camera territory. So in this video, I'll compare the iPhone 17 Pro with my Fujifilm X-T5 mirrorless camera, which is around the same price, around 1900 euros. I'll be using my custom camera settings for the iPhone 17 Pro. Yeah, so if you are interested, you can watch this video here and here where I go into detail into each setting. Right, so let's continue. Now let's start by comparing the file formats, and I'll start with JPEGs. Now, I did not find much difference between the photo quality from iPhone 17 versus Fujifilm X-T5. The blacks, shadows, and highlights were marginally better on Fujifilm X-T5, but I kind of expected it because it's a professional camera. Honestly, I was quite impressed with the photo quality that's coming out of the iPhone 17. I'm also quite impressed with how the colors are rendered on iPhone 17 JPEGs. But there is one thing that was very interesting, right? Now, if you look at this photo here, the exposure on this photo is very good, right? It's very bright, colorful, right? Problem is, the shutter speed on this photo is very fast and there's not much ISO, to be honest. Although the aperture is quite high, but still it does not justify the kind of exposure that this photo has. Which means, and that's my assumption, is that the camera software is digitally processing the photo immediately when you click the shutter and adds a bit of exposure in the background, right? So this exposure in the photo is added digitally in my opinion. And this is something I don't like as a professional photographer because I don't want software to be meddling with the settings and making the photo look good. Anyways, the photo quality is very good even in JPEGs on iPhone 17 and on par with the Fujifilm X-T5. Now moving on to raw images, the photo on the left is from iPhone 17 and the photo on the right is from Fujifilm X-T5. Now again, immediately I don't see much difference in photo quality between the two, which is quite impressive really, considering iPhone is just a phone and Fujifilm X-T5 is a proper mirrorless professional camera. The highlights, shadows and blacks are marginally better on Fujifilm X-T5, but you would expect that. Now having said that, things are not all rosy with iPhone 17. Actually, there's a huge problem, which is blurry photos. A lot of photos from iPhone 17 come out to be blurry. And the reason is that iPhone tends to randomly lose focus, and sometimes the photos look so blurry that you might think you're shooting in portrait mode. This is because in iPhone 17 you use tap on focus. So you basically tap on a particular area on the screen and then take a photo, right? You can even lock the focus. This ensures that that particular area is in focus and the rest is a bit blurred out, right? Now, because the iPhone randomly loses focus at times, even your subject loses focus and the photo comes out to be very blurry at times. And even with photos which are in focus, it did not look as good as from a professional camera, right? So that is something I would really consider. Now let's move on to lenses, and this is quite big. You see, iPhone now gives you three lenses to work with, right? With a range of different focal lengths. So you start with an ultra wide angle lens, which is 14 mm. Then you have a wide angle lens, which is 24 mm. You can also tap on the wide angle lens or 1x to get 28 mm and 35 mm, right? So it's kind of huge. Then you have a telephoto lens, which actually starts from 48 mm and then goes on to 40x, right? So you can see that you have a large range of focal lengths to work with. And so in this section, we will be comparing photos on different focal lengths from both sides. Now, if I compare photos from the ultra wide and wide angle lens to the Fujifilm X-T5, which is a professional camera, I found that the photos from the iPhone are comparable to the ones coming out from the Fujifilm X-T5, but they look a bit more digitally processed. It's not on par. The photos from Fujifilm X-T5 do look more natural. They look much more sharper. They have better contrast. They manage colors more nicely. But if we move on to telephoto lenses now, that's just a different ball game. You see, the 2x and 8x on iPhone 17 are not naturally zoomed in, they are digitally cropped, which means these photos have a lower resolution. They are only 12 megapixel as compared to all other raw photos on iPhone 17, which have a resolution of 48 megapixel. So now if I'm going to compare a photo on 2x on iPhone 17 with a photo on, let's say, 50 mm from my prime lens on Fujifilm X-T5, that's not a fair comparison. Firstly, the photos from iPhone 17 is going to be lower resolution. The photo quality is not the same. But I do feel that still the photo has really good colors. It has really good contrast. It manages details very beautifully. So I'm kind of surprised that even with digital cropping, the photo looks that good. But let me tell you that the photo quality actually starts decreasing on iPhone 17 when you zoom in too much. I've seen that you get good photos at 4x, and after that the quality decreases rapidly, and even with 8x the quality is not that good, and I can't even speak for 40x, right? Now when we talk about iPhone 17 replacing a professional camera or compare it to a professional camera, we have to talk about portrait photography or portrait mode, right? Now the portrait mode on iPhone 17 is its party piece. So the portrait mode is hugely improved this time, and it gives you three focal lengths to work with. I took some photos of my wife. The bokeh is really good, and that's what we want from a portrait photography, right? Nice bokeh. The colors are well managed, the highlights, shadows, blacks, everything is very well rendered. I honestly was very impressed with the portrait photos coming out from iPhone 17, to be honest. The only thing that I would say is the bokeh on iPhone 17 is digitally rendered, right? It's not a natural bokeh, right? As compared to a professional camera like Fujifilm X-T5, right? So it does look a bit digital, but only to a trained eye or the eye of a photographer. Now, the last thing that I do want to talk about is the selfie camera on iPhone 17. And I feel it's such a big advantage that iPhone 17 has over digital or professional cameras, even action cameras. You see, people are going to use selfie cameras uh, for taking selfies, obviously, but also for vlogging, right? The camera is 18 megapixel with 24 megapixel square sensor, and it automatically crops to 4:3 or wider ratios. If I have to compare it with the vlogging camera that I use, which is the Insta360 Ace Pro, I will always go for the iPhone 17, right? I cannot use it because it belongs to my wife. But otherwise, I would gladly replace my Ace Pro with iPhone 17. The iPhone 17 has better battery, it has better low light performance, and the only thing is I would not use it for too much action, and the phone actually heats up a lot. Otherwise, I feel that iPhone 17 is much more superior than the Insta360 Ace Pro. So the question is now, should you actually buy an iPhone 17 instead of a professional mirrorless camera, or should you replace your existing mirrorless camera with an iPhone 17? And my answer is not yet. I feel the photo quality in iPhone 17 is still not on par with digital cameras or professional cameras. The photos from iPhone 17 actually look much more digitally processed as compared to a professional camera like X-T5. And then there is a big problem of blurry photos. I don't want to go out and take photos for 2 or 3 hours only to come back home and see that 90% of my photos are blurry, right? That is not going to happen. I also feel that if you do street photography or professional photography with an iPhone, people around you behave differently, right? As compared to if you use a professional camera. Firstly, clients would not appreciate it if you are using iPhone 17 because you don't look professional. Also, for street photography, if people are your main subjects, then they are going to get very scared and aggressive if they see you taking photos with an iPhone. And in comparison to that, if you take photos with a professional camera, with street photography, people are still going to object a bit, but they sometimes they play along and they actually ask you to take your photos, and that's much more mellow. And obviously, for professional photo shoots, the clients are going to appreciate you look professional. They believe you know what you are doing. So I would still not consider using iPhone 17 for photo shoots or for street photography where your subjects are people. Right, so I feel that Apple has been bringing the iPhone camera closer to a professional camera, but it's still not there. Personally, I see Apple iPhone Pro sitting somewhere between action and vlogging cameras and professional cameras, right? So if you are someone who has 1800 euros to spend, and either you are looking to do a lot of vlogging and take photos which are on par with professional cameras, then the iPhone 17 Pro is really good for you. Or if you have that kind of money and if you want to learn about photography and start doing photography, again, iPhone 17 is really good for you. But I do feel that if you just want to start with photography and learn about it, there are much more cheaper options, including refurbished or second-hand models of iPhones. Or you can also get much more cheaper cameras. Right, so I hope this video was helpful to you. And if you really enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel if you're new here and giving this video a thumbs up at least, right? I would really appreciate it. And I hope you stay safe. I hope you take a lot of photos, enjoy photography, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.